the NBA champion, the college basketball champion, Mr. Big Game, calling out things on TV, by the way, on his Lakers right now, and working with Michelob talking about the 1990s, which was my favorite era of NBA basketball, and I love all NBA basketball. Big Game James, good to see you.
How are you, Mark? All good, man.
So are you sitting there scratching your head like everybody else? How did the Lakers not at least make a move at the trade deadline to try and, I don't know, somehow, some way fix what's going on?
Yeah, I think when they made the move to bring Westbrook in, it was set, man. It would be hard to to put a package together. I think to bring in anything, I think that would turn it around. I mean, I think it's beyond bringing in a player. I think it's like some type of virus or something going on with this team that they're not able to get any type of cohesiveness or connection on the defensive end. So if you make a trade and bring somebody in, I mean that problem's still there. I mean it's just not any cohesiveness. Now if they decide that they're going to play some defense, forget about the offense. They're going to decide that they're going to stop letting teams kill them in the paint and out rebound them and beat them in transition points. I think what happened is the anticipation was there at the beginning, but it hasn't materialized, and now it's in their head. And so I know they've experienced injuries and the same thing that the rest of the league had. They're not playing hard. They're not playing hard enough to earn respect. And when you lose to a team like Portland, like they did, that's the bottom low.
So, and you can't put this on one person, but ultimately this is LeBron's team. So how much do we point at LeBron and say, hey, this is on you, no matter how you do it, you've got to get this turned around. I mean, an effort thing. I mean, he can throw, he can lead that way, can he not?
Well, his play has been, pretty good as far as when you look at stats. But when we look at impactful, how impactful, how many defensive assignments are you missing? There's a lot of things I see that all players, including LeBron, that are just blatantly obvious on defense that they have to change, and those are effort things. So, LeBron is the captain. He is the spokesperson in that locker room, and that's where they have to have the meeting of the minds. That responsibility does fall on him. That Magic Johnson would have that responsibility. Magic would say, look, guys, we got to do this. We got to do that. This is how we're going to do it. So a lot of his falls on his shoulders, but a lot of it just falls on the fact that these are veteran players. They have to be able to convey the message. We're without none. We don't have enough young players, but my gosh, you gotta play hard. We're way better than this. We can beat Portland. We can beat Oklahoma. We can beat the teams that we're supposed to beat. We might have to measure up against, the Phoenix Warriors and Milwaukee, but we're better than what we've shown this year.
So you just touched on just an interesting part of leadership because, Michael would gets banged on for being a ruthless leader. Larry would give it to guys. Magic got tied into Paul Westhead, and LeBron sometimes is not looked at like the nicest guy. But is that part of it, like not being worried about having guys like you, but more as respect you? How do you see that part of like what a leader is meant to be, James?
Well, I know LeBron, like the other day, he said, look, he's going to talk to Westbrook. They're going to text each other and they're going to talk. So I'm assuming that there's some engagement, how it's being conveyed. I don't know, but it's critical to have your leader has to lead not only by example, but he has to engage and understand the personalities on the team. They look to LeBron. The thing is, Westbrook is a leader too. Westbrook has been the guy on teams that he's been the leader. So they got leaders. I think that one of the better spokespersons on the team is Carmelo. Carmelo's been around. He really voices his opinion. Sometimes I think during the game, right on spot, and that's what it takes. Sometimes it takes meeting in the locker room, and sometimes it takes right there at that moment. Come on, let's go. You got to get in the paint. And so I see a lot of hands up. What happened? There are a lot of people looking at each other, pointing fingers, but I don't see that uh, making your teammate, reliable, making him responsible, and that's what corporate teams and corporations do. They monitor each other, and you don't mind somebody, you know, shaking their finger at you every now and then and saying, "Hey, we gotta make this work." I don't see that. I see a lot of, oh boy, what happened there, and it's game after game after game.
I want to go back to the 90s, but let me just say one more thing here. I didn't think it was going to work because Russ wants the ball in his hands. LeBron wants the ball in his hands. It's hard to get two guys who are used to playing like that. Okay, now you go stand over here and I'll give it to you and do, when you get it, then you can play the way you want to play. But it's just asking somebody. It's like a fish out of water almost.
That was the challenge. That was the challenge when you bring in a dynamic player like that. I personally, I like what we had because we traded away our defensive heart. We traded away, but I understand today's game there's a lot of changes, a lot of components. So I'm with that. I'm with this is their league, and so that when you look at what Brooklyn was doing, and you look at what Golden State was getting their swag back, and I guess they wanted to make sure that they could keep up with that. And so when you bring in a Westbrook, the challenge was going to be, Westbrook is not like your off guard shooter. He's not going to be. I mean, he's a streaky shooter, but he's not the off guard. He's not going to be sitting out there. He does need the ball. So that was the challenge. And so I was like, okay, they know that this is going to be, one of their biggest, challenges. So they have to be willing to sacrifice. I don't see it yet. I still see a lot of stagnation on offense. There's no movement. I don't care who handles the ball. They need to be getting 30 assists a game, and they're not doing that. And Westbrook is not finishing at the rim. I think he may lead the league in missed layups, and so it hasn't worked yet. So they got a lot of work here in these last 25 or 26 games.
No doubt, no doubt. All right, so you're working with Michelob. We're going back to the 90s. I got some 90s questions for you. And big game, I got to just get it on the table here. I'm a Chicago guy. I was at the 91 finals. It was the game that you guys won, game one. That was, I don't know if you remember it at all, but in the pregame, they played Do You Believe in Magic when you guys were warming up, and like everyone's kind of like enjoying the music, and then they realized they're playing Do You Believe in Magic, and the boos started coming down, and then they play the Hey song. The Bulls come out of the locker room. I had never seen atmosphere like that in a pregame. So, at any rate, 90s hoops was the greatest. You're working with Michelob. And we got the Mutombo and Clyde and Dominique. What do you remember about NBA jams? And we got a lot going on here.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to work again with Michelob Ultra. We've always worked with Anheuser-Busch over the years. They've been a big part of our sponsorship and NBA jams to just to reunite the glory days, of the 90s. The 92 was my last All-Star weekend that I was chosen to play in Miami. So it was really nice to see all these new players start to come in. Jordan was still dominating, but Hakeem Olajuwon in Houston, it was the birth of a guy like, big shot Robert Horry was starting to play. And then this guy named Kobe Bryant came along, and then coupled with Shaq. And so the All-Star weekends were full of excitement. Larry Bird may have had his last three-point shooting contest maybe around 90, 91. So it was good to see the torch being passed from Larry and Bird to MJ to all these new players that were coming in. Tim Duncan was starting to make a stand. Karl Malone was still dominant. So it was just nice to get with your people that you compete against, and let your hair down a little bit. There might be a player you might have to reconcile something with. You might see him in the hotel. A month ago, you were getting ready to throw blows And you might see him at the All-Star game, like, oh, okay, man, let's just get this. So it's a fun weekend to, get with corporate sponsors and kind of, just relax a little bit. It's nice.
Who was your least favorite Celtic?
All of them. I know. I would have to say Larry. Larry. He talked too much trash, said some things on the court, but and I had to guard him. He never had to guard me. So, nah. But I was a big Cedric Maxwell fan when he played in college. Um, guys like Robert Parrish, I saw him play in college, and so we all liked each other. Really, I mean, I got a chance to know Kevin McHale afterwards. So it's not that we hated each other. It's just that we hated that Boston and Laker rivalry. The Lakers never beat the Celtics before. We did. So it was a lot of history there. But Danny Ainge was probably the biggest crybaby, so I have to go with Danny.
Oh, I appreciate you. I appreciate you mentioning him. 87 Lakers, 86 Celtics. Who wins that game?
87 Lakers. We were better. We lost to them once in '84, and we always feel like we should have won that game. That series. We didn't. So, but they felt like their '86 team was their best. Unfortunately, we got ousted by Houston. But I think our '87 team was better than their '86. We were quicker, we were faster, and they were good. But they didn't want any more of that.
Right. I hear you. Did Bill Laimbeer foul Kareem?
Yes, underneath. It's a trick, and people have to look at it. Nothing up top, but with the hips, a little pressing with the hips. Referees were onto it. We knew all of Bill Laimbeer's tricks. It was a foul.
He earned that call, even if underneath or not. The dude had earned it. Let's be honest. Can I get a Mike story that you perhaps haven't told recently? Anything back at Carolina or even in the league? Something that
Michael, man, I only had we only played a year in college. He was just Michael was very competitive. I mean, he was very confident when he first came to Carolina. Like he could lose a game of backgammon and be absolutely destroyed, angry, as if he lost a game 7 or something. He had to have redemption immediately. He couldn't wait. If he lost to you, he needed to redeem himself immediately. And I just remember, I was the best guy on the team when he came. So his mission was to seek out the best and just measure up. So we practiced 2.5, 3 hours sometime. And, got to get back to the dorm, got to eat, got to go to study hall. And I'd be walking off the court, like drenched. And Michael would just come and, kind of bully me a little bit, like pushing me back toward the court. Come on, you scared? Let's play a little game. So I think we played these little games to 5. And I think I won 3 out of 5, and I never played it again. And to this day, I think it just kills me that I have that record on him. And we play like these little games. And he finally had to admit it, I think, on some special. But he was extremely competitive, man. And that's what you loved about him. And I think I made the quote on his documentary, The Last Dance. I said, look, I was better than Michael, when he came to Carolina for about 3 weeks. And then after that, he just took off.
The MJ Pippen thing, does that surprise you that Scotty just blew up that relationship?
Yeah, that kind of surprises me that, that perhaps, he had been holding on to something that it just came out. I was just disappointed. And I hope that, I know Michael, he's not one to kind of reconcile too often, but I hope that they realize that what they built together was special. And, teammates don't always see eye to eye on a lot of things. Sometimes they hold feelings in. But as men, just because men don't do this that well, they just need to sit down and check. Because I'm pretty sure there's a lot of love there, more than this little thing that they got going on now.
Who are you closest with your former Lakers, James?
Kareem and I are really close.
Yeah.
I'm close to about all of them. Michael Cooper. I see Magic. Byron Scott and I play golf from time to time. So we were close, and our relationships, have lasted. After basketball, we see each other a lot, reminisce, and it's kind of cool.
That purple and gold, man.
Yeah,
There's something about it. Let's just wrap on this. I think everybody obviously misses Kobe. Like, what do you miss most about not having 8 and 24 around? It's just like, I mean, he was such a unbelievable person on and off the court. And I sit here, I watch on social media clips of him. It's like like Kobe motivation every day. Like it's just such a he was such just a winner and so many layers for Kobe too.
yeah, he was a special person, man. He had sneakers from Nike that only he could get made for him, and there was only like one of a kind. So sometimes you would hear these stories about you know Kobe after Laker games. He would just ride down Skid Row and get out and do whatever, give money, give food, and every now and then you see somebody on Skid Row with a pair of Kobe's on. You'd know he'd been down there.
Wow.
So there's a lot of unknowns about Kobe. He was a genius, man. And, he was a young kid that grew up fast. And I just miss his genius. His legacy was going to be even bigger, winning an Oscar, what he was doing with women's sports, what he was doing with the WNBA and his own daughter. So he was just an amazing guy. His last year in the league was Byron Scott was coaching, and I was helping Byron with some of his bigs, Julius Randle, Larry Nance, footwork and stuff. So I, got a call at 10 o'clock one night, and Kobe, who really didn't come to practice that much, he wanted me to meet him in the gym the next morning, and I was like, okay, this is weird because I was like, what? And he wanted to go over some footwork stuff with me, like, and I'm like, dude, I've already seen you do just about everything plus, but he was a little older, and there was just some little things he wanted to know about positioning, footwork, and I was like, damn, when is he gonna stop trying to learn? And then he told me about a tape that his dad played in Italy. So when he lived in Italy, his dad used to get all these Betamaxes and VHSs of NBA games. And he said, yeah, I saw this in 1985. You did this drop step underneath. And then he showed it to me. And he said, yeah, I got that tape on VHS. And it just blew my mind. That's the kind of guy he was. He didn't have any freaking hobbies. It was all about the game. He loved it. Like, he lived it. He loved it. He ate it. He dreamed it. And that's all he wanted to do. And so that's what I remember about Kobe.
Yeah, I mean, I remember being at a shoot around Bulls Lakers. The Bulls were bad at this point. It's 11 o'clock in the morning. I don't know if they had played the night before, but everyone's leaving. He's on the court shooting fadeaways at 11.
Yeah.
One after another. So
yeah.
Big Game, tremendous career. There was nothing better than growing up I was 11 I was 9 in 82. It's the first championship game I remember. That was So at any rate, in the whole career, and I hated the Celtics who didn't? But I was a Bulls guy. It actually hurt my heart back in the day because the Bulls would never sell out. Lakers would come in, sold out. Celtics would come in, sold out.
Yeah.
Sixers would come in. Dr. J sold out, and Mike brought it up. But hey, yeah, great to see you working with Michelob, and look forward to catching up down the line, Big James.
All right, brother. Have a good one.
Take care, James. What do you think? Did we get this one right? Let us know in the comments and subscribe to Fansided for more videos like this one, and look out for the next Clutch Series installment.